My daughter splashed scalding coffee on me and shouted, "You're too old to answer me." I stood there in silence, calm as a storm before it breaks, wiped my face slowly, and slipped my hand into my pocket. What I pulled out next made my daughter let out a scream she'll never forget. The magnolia room smells like lemon oil and roast beef. Friday clatter. White linen, dark wood, a low ceiling that keeps the noise close. I sit in a corner booth under a brass lamp that hums. The lamp throws a clean circle of light on the table. My hands rest in the light. Steady. Rachel slides into the opposite seat like she owns the floor. She doesn't take off her coat. She never does. Marcus lowers himself beside her and angles his phone toward the window. His smile is perfect and thin. The screen reflection ghosts over the glass. "Mom," Rachel says, "let's not make this hard." "I'm having soup," I say. "You're late." She waves the server away without looking. A small wave like shooing a fly. She has her father's cheekbones. She has my stubbornness. She uses both like weapons. "You heard me," she says. "You told me you understood." "I heard you," I say. "I understood you wanted money and control. Those aren't the same." Marcus reaches for the sugar packets and arranges them into a tidy row. His eyes stay on the phone. The camera is not recording. Not yet. But I know why the lens faces me. Optics. He is good at optics. Rachel leans forward. "It's reasonable. The business needs runway. You have idle assets. This is a simple transfer for family. Say the number out loud." I tell her. She looks at Marcus like he's a teleprompter. He gives her nothing but his calm, expanded eyes. 500, she says. 500 what? I ask. I make my voice plain like we are back at the kitchen table with toy cars and spelling tests. $500,000. She says liquid. The server arrives with coffee. A young man with ink on his forearm. He sets the cups down. He calls me ma'am without looking scared. It lifts me an inch. "Rachel," I say. "Last week you said $50,000. That already felt obscene." "I miscalculated," she says. "I have a partner now." Timelines tightened. "Mom, you said." I said I would think. She presses both palms on the table. The coffee cup on her side wobbles and catches itself. Her breathing shortens. It is the same little engine I watched when she was 3 and wanted to run into the lake without a life vest. She wants the water. She wants the risk. She assumes I am the doc. "Ruth," Marcus says, the first time he has used my name to my face. "This is support, not control. She worries about you. We both do." "Concern looks different," I say. He smiles again, then, "Show us we're wrong." The server brings my soup, tomato bisque. He shaves pepper over it and asks if we need anything else. "Your name," I say. "Marco," he says. "Thank you, Marco," I say. He nods and leaves, but he lingers by the waiter station, eyes on us. Rachel's voice drops. "Mom, I'm not asking." I set my spoon down. I take out my wallet. The leather is old and neat. Inside the inner pocket of my jacket, a slip of heavy paper waits. I put the wallet away and draw out the check. I lay it flat in the light between us like a white flag that learned how to bite. Marcus's phone wakes. The tiny red dot blooms. He angles the camera so my face sits center. Rachel reads the amount. Her mouth opens. 1 million, I say. That's what I brought when you said this was your life's work. I tap the paper. Not a promise, not a transfer. A check. A thing that waits for a decision. She blinks. Her face changes in small pieces. First the jaw, then the eyes. The mask of confidence breaks at the edge. "You did this," she says. "So you do know you can't manage things yourself. You're being generous because you know." I take the check in both hands. The paper is tougher than it looks. It holds. So do I. Rachel, I say. You're asking for trust while you work behind my back. Bank calls. People at my door. Marcus's posts about elder care without using my name. You want me to bless your method? I won't. She lunges for the paper. Her hand hits her coffee instead. The cup leaps. Brown heat arcs across the table, across my shirt, my neck. It stings. The shock is bright and pure. Marco flinches. Two women at the nearest table stop chewing. Rachel stands. Look at you, she says, voice too loud. You can't even hold a conversation without shaking. You need help. You need me. I tear the check down the center. The sound is small and precise, like pulling a zipper. I turn the halves and tear again. 4 quarters. 4 quiet leaves. They drift. One lands near her wrist. One sticks to the wet wood. One slides to Marcus's side. One rests by my spoon. Banks don't honor checks that never existed, I say. Are you out of your mind? She says. I'm in it, I say, and I'm in my home and my name and my choices. Marcus finally speaks into his phone. For safety, he says to the lens. We're documenting for safety. Marco approaches with a towel. Ma'am, do you want ice? He asks. Please, I say. I keep my voice even. He brings a cloth-wrapped scoop. I press it to my collarbone. The pain dials down 1 notch. It is a clean hurt. I can live with a clean hurt. The manager arrives. Black suit, radio at his hip. He looks at the coffee on the table, the pieces of paper, the camera, my wet shirt. He asks if I'd like to move to a quieter table. No, I tell him. I want the light. I want the witnesses. I want the ordinary to stand still around us until the truth is obvious. Rachel's hands shake. She points at the manager. You saw her rip up a check. She is unstable. The manager nods once. Ma'am, he says to me, do you need medical attention? I'm fine, I say. I'd like to settle up and go. Rachel laughs. It is a hard bark. Settle up? You can't drive. You shouldn't be alone. This is what I mean. You're not safe. Your concern is noted, I say. I look down and gather the paper quarters. I stack them. They stick to each other with coffee and resolve. I slide them into my pocket. The money was never the point. The decision was. Marcus's camera drinks me in. I let it. My face is calm. My shirt is stained. My eyes are clear. The lens will do what it does. So will the room. Rachel, I say, you will not contact my bank again. You will not send strangers to my door. If you have a proposal, you deliver it with respect and with counsel present. And you will not raise your voice to me in public again. You can't tell me. I can, I say. I stand because I am your mother. Because I pay for my soup. Because I sleep in my own bed. Because I know what I am doing. She moves around the table to block me. Marcus follows, still filming. The manager steps in, soft and firm. Let her pass, he says. Marco hovers with concern burning a hole in his training. Rachel lowers her voice. If you leave, I go to court, she says. I will show everyone what you are. I will ask a judge to put me in charge before you hurt yourself. Before you burn the house down by leaving the stove on. Before you sign something you don't understand. Then go to court, I say. Bring your full voice. Bring your camera. Bring your fears. I'll bring the truth. I angle my body and step past her. She doesn't move fast enough. My shoulder brushes hers. It is the smallest contact. It feels like a door closing and staying closed. At the host stand I stop. I look back at Marco and the manager. You may be asked about tonight, I say. Tell it plain. The manager nods. I will, he says. Outside, Riverside is crisp and blue-black. The river is 2 blocks away, a quiet sheet under a thin moon. The wind carries salt and a little diesel from the marina. I walk into it. The shirt cools on my skin and hardens. I do not hurry. The night allows me to be exact with my steps. I pass a couple holding hands. I pass a boy on a scooter. My phone buzzes once, then again, then a staccato run of little alarms. I ignore them for half a block. I breathe. I count the breaths, 1 through 5 and back to 1. This is a skill I earned. At the corner, I stop and take out the phone. The screen is crowded with badges from neighbors, from the association thread, from numbers I do not know. At the top sits a new notification. Marcus's account. A video. Protecting Ruth, the caption says, a red and a number that blooms while I watch. The thumbnail is my face in the brass light, my shirt dark and wet. I tap it open. By morning, the video has a life of its own. It breeds in group chats and on neighborhood threads where lost cats and leaf blower arguments usually live. I make coffee. I butter toast. I sit at the kitchen island that Martha, my late husband, picked because the marble felt cold and honest under his hand. I let the phone ring until it stops. Then it rings again. I answer the third one. Ruth. Nora from the HOA. Bright voice, polite pitch. Good morning, Nora. I watched something hard last night, she says. Are you okay? I am, I say. Coffee accident. Shirt paid the price. I'm fine. Long breath. The sound of a finger tapping a desk. Some neighbors are worried. The clip made you look unsteady. Optics, I say. You know how those work. She swallows. I do. Also, there were comments about guardianship. About your daughter stepping up. I look out the window. The maple is past its peak. Red thins into rust. Leaves let go without drama. Nora, I say, if anyone asks, tell them I am both competent and stubborn. That last part one can confirm, she says. A small laugh. Then Ruth, for the record. Are you alone? I am, I say. By choice. We care, she says. That's all. I end the call and scroll. The neighborhood thread blooms with concern that feels like a hand on my elbow when I don't need help. Screenshots pile up. A comment from someone whose name I recognize only from mailbox lids. It broke my heart. She seemed confused. Marcus's reply under a repost. We only want safety for Ruth. Please be kind. A message from a number with no contact. Ma'am, our company specializes in transitions. Discreet. Affordable. I take 3 screenshots. I title them, Concern_1, Concern_2, Solicitation. I drop them in a folder on my desktop called Paper Walls. I learned long ago that the first defense is order. The doorbell rings. I check the camera. No one. Rachel would have stood square to the lens and smiled the wrong smile. This is a delivery. A padded envelope sits on the mat with no return address. Inside, a brochure for a supportive living community 20 miles away. The kind with watercolor fountains and long carpets. A sticky note, we offer tours anytime. J. I put it with the recycling. I breathe and brew a second cup. The landline rings. Old sound. Trustworthy. I answer. Ruth, it's Sharon, says a voice I like. She lives 2 houses down. Retired teacher, good knees, and a slow laugh. You know I don't do the internet, but Nora came over. She said there's mess. There is, I say. Manageable mess. You want me to pop by? No, I say. But thank you. If anyone asks, you saw me mow my lawn last week. She chuckles. Twice, she says, and hangs up. I call Riverside Community Bank. The manager picks up on the second ring. Her voice is cedar, clean and strong. Mrs. Hale, she says, using the name that is mine and sounds right in her mouth. I pulled the access logs. Your daughter attempted to add herself as a point of contact. We declined because we require you present and notarized consent for any change to your accounts. We also flagged the account for extra verification. Thank you, I say. We did get a welfare check request through an off-site customer line, she adds. Who initiated it? Understood, I say. If you need anything from me, we'll call you, she says. And Mrs. Hale, for what it's worth. My mother is your age. She hates help. She also built a life that deserves respect. We see you. I sit with that for a quiet moment. Respect is a hard currency. It moves slower than cash, but holds its value better. The phone buzzes. A text from Rachel. Answer me. This is spiraling. You brought a $1 million check and ripped it like a child. Let me clean this up. I type. You created the spill. Don't call my bank. Do not send people to my home. If you have a proposal, bring counsel. 3 dots appear. Vanish. Appear. She calls instead. I let it go to voicemail. She calls again. I answer. Mom, she says, voice tightening. You're trending. Do you even understand what that means? It means strangers think they know me, I say. It means you need to act. Delete your account. Issue a statement. Say you're grateful for help. Say you miss Dad and it's been hard. People will soften. That's your plan. I ask. You humiliate me in a restaurant and then write me a script? You humiliated yourself, she says. You tore up a check like a toddler doing a magic trick. You looked small. I felt precise, I say. Silence. Then she switches lanes. A social worker will visit. It's a routine safety assessment. It's not court. If you cooperate, this can go smoothly. You arranged this, I say. Her breath hits my ear. I requested it, she says. People are worried. You should welcome concern. Unless you have something to hide. You were a child who always said that when you were the one hiding, I say. Cookies. Fireworks under the dock. A report card folded into the wrong book. She snorts. You're doing the mom thing. Nostalgia deflection. It won't work. The visit is this afternoon. I'll be here, I say. And I'll be ready. You shouldn't be alone. She tries out a softer note. Let me come by. I'll help you talk. I'll make sure they don't misinterpret. No, I say. Your presence is the misinterpretation. She breathes through her nose like a bull. Then don't complain when they decide you need placement. Placement, I repeat. Like furniture. Like safety, she says, and hangs up. I set the phone down and let the room be itself. The clock over the stove ticks. The refrigerator hums. The heat kicks on with a small boom. I walk through the house and touch what matters. The framed photo by the piano of Martha and me under the maple the day we planted it. The brass key bowl. The edge of the dining table where our grandchildren once drummed spoons. The house has a pulse. Mine matches it. I call my attorney. Morning, Ruth, she says. David. Quick mind, warm spine. I expect a welfare assessment today, I say. Good, he says. Invite them in. Offer water. Answer questions simply. If they ask medical specifics, tell them you'll provide documentation through counsel. Do not argue. Do not monologue. Show your systems. Pill organizer, labeled files, emergency contacts. The goal is competence on camera and in person. I have all of that, I say. Will you be on standby? My phone will, he says. Also, document the visit. Not covert. Say you're recording your own home for your own records. I like that sentence. Use it, he says. And Ruth, yes. This is about your dignity, not your daughter. I know, I say. She's just loud. Loud isn't strong, he says. and we hang up. I prep. I set the paper walls folder open on my laptop with time-stamped files. I stack mail neatly, utilities, bank statements, vote notices, a postcard from a friend in Arizona who writes twice a year and hates phones. I line up my medications by day and time in a clear plastic box Martha would approve. I put a glass by the sink and a pitcher of water in the fridge. I put my driver's license and health proxy on the table. I write a short list in thick black pen. Primary care. Dr. Shaw. Neighbor emergency. Sharon. Attorney. David. The door camera pings. A figure across the street. Hoodie up, pretending to look at a tree. Phone pointed here. I step onto the porch. The figure flinches, then straightens. Marcus, of course. He lowers his hood and waves, a small fake wave. You're not subtle, I say. Public sidewalk, he says. Public interest. Public nonsense, I say. I recommend you find a better angle. The truth isn't flattering. He smiles and films the smile. We just want safety, he says. The phrase has grooves now. It fits his tongue. You want narrative, I say. I want truth. Truth doesn't trend, he says. But fear does. Not forever, I say. Fear tires people out. He tilts his head. Rachel will be hurt if you slam the door on help. Rachel will be fine, I say. She's resilient when it benefits her. His eyebrows rise in polite surprise. You're going to be spicy on camera? That can read as confusion. Then let it read its flavor, I say. I step back inside and close the door with a click that sounds like a small promise kept. I call the church office. Morning, says Pastor Williams. She has a voice that moves at 3 miles an hour. Pastor, I say, I might need a witness later. Not for religion. For community. I am both, she says. Call if you need me. I set my phone to do not disturb with exceptions for David, Sharon, and the bank. I eat an apple. I read 2 pages of a book Martha loved about gardens that survive without constant watering. I place the book where a visitor can see the bookmark. Exactly in the middle. People notice things that suggest rhythm. A car slows in front of the house. Another. The neighborhood has decided to walk dogs at the same hour. Concern has legs. The doorbell rings. Not a single ding, but a steady professional chime. I stand, straighten my collar, and breathe once. I open the door. 2 people stand there. A woman with a soft scarf and brisk eyes. A man with a clipboard he never glances at. Behind them at the sidewalk, Marcus lifts his phone a fraction and frames the doorway. Mrs. Hale, the woman says, we're here for a welfare assessment based on several community referrals. Good afternoon, I say. Come in. I'll be recording for my own records. I hold up my phone and tap the screen. The red dot blooms bright and honest. The woman nods. From the sidewalk, a small red light blinks back. Before we begin, the woman says, stepping into my living room, I'm Dana. This is Luis. We'll ask some questions, look around, and be out of your way. Water? I ask, holding up the pitcher. Please, she says. Luis shakes his head. No, already scanning the room like it might confess. I'll be recording for my own records, I say again, and angle my phone so the frame holds faces, table, and the neat row of pill compartments that spell out my week. Dana smiles. That's fine. We appreciate transparency. Good, I say. So do I. She starts soft. Full name and date of birth. I answer. Primary care physician. Dr. Shaw. Medications. I read them off with dosages. Any recent falls? No. Who's your emergency contact? Sharon. 2 doors down. My attorney David for legal. Pastor Williams for community. She glances at the list I placed in thick pen. You prepared. I live here, I say. Preparation is how houses stay alive. Luis moves to the kitchen like a polite burglar. He opens the fridge. Healthy food, labeled leftovers. He opens the cabinet above the stove, folders first. He opens the drawer with batteries, rubber bands, and a small flashlight that works on the first click. He cannot help looking disappointed. Cooking today, he asks. Soup, I say. Yesterday's shirt was the casualty, not the stove. Dana sets a small digital clock on the table. I'll ask you to set this to the time on your oven, she says. I do quickly enough that she gives a little nod to herself. She hands me a blank envelope. Write your name and address. I print clearly. She compares it to my license. Sign your name. I sign, same as I have for 50 years. She glances but doesn't linger. Let's walk, she says. Bathroom safety. Bedroom exits. We move through the house. I narrate quietly as if giving a tour to someone who admires function. Grab bar by the shower I installed after a friend took a nasty fall last winter. Non-slip mats. Closet shelves labeled in Martha's neat hand, which I never erased. Fresh fire extinguishers with tags that say tested. The smoke detector chirps once on cue as if to affirm its being. Dana checks the date on the back and smiles with half her mouth. Back in the living room, she closes her notebook and looks up. Mrs. Hale, I'm going to ask a few scenario questions. Just routine. She folds her hands. If someone called and said they needed your social security number to confirm a problem with your account, what would you do? I would hang up, I say. Then I would call the bank at the number printed on my card. I would speak to Laurel, the branch manager at Riverside Community Bank, if it seemed serious. Luis's pen pauses. You know your manager by name? She knows mine, I say. Dana glances toward the window. On the sidewalk, Marcus adjusts his stance like a news anchor in a storm. We received several concerns, Mrs. Hale, Dana says. About finances. About judgment. About possible exploitation. She lets the words hover. Exploitation, I say. Yes. I slide my laptop across the table and open the folder marked Paper Walls. Here are the first 3 screenshots. Here's the brochure I received with no return address. Here is an email to my bank from a third party requesting access. Laurel declined. I keep my voice even. My daughter is worried. She says. She is also asking for $500,000. Last week she said $50,000. Those are different concerns. Dana's eyebrows lift a fraction. Luis's pen starts again. Do you have documentation of the bank interaction? Dana asks. I tap a file. Laurel's note. Attempted contact edition. Declined without notarized consent. Extra verification enabled. May I call your bank with you present? I ask. Speaker on for clarity. Dana smiles like I offered a mint. That would be helpful. I dial. Riverside Community Bank, the receptionist says, and transfers me. Laurel picks up on the second ring. Mrs. Hale, she says. How can I help? Hi Laurel, I say, putting her on speaker. 2 state workers are here for a welfare assessment. They'd like to verify the security notes on my account. Of course, she says, crisp as a folded letter. As I told you this morning, we refused an attempted change made by your daughter. We've placed an additional verification flag. No one can add themselves without your notarized consent in person. Also, she pauses. A welfare check request was placed through our off-site line yesterday. We can't disclose the caller, but we logged the time. Dana nods at me. Luis writes the time down. Thank you, Laurel, I say. One more question. If someone came to your lobby insisting on speaking for me without my presence, what would you do? Invite them to wait, she says, and then invite them to leave. I thank her and end the call. Before my thumb lifts, My phone buzzes with another call sliding in. Rachel. The name fills the screen like a stain. I let it go to voicemail. It immediately rings again. I glance at Dana. She nods. If you'd like to answer, we'll observe. I put it on speaker. Mom, Rachel says, and I can hear city noise behind her. Are you obstructing a state assessment? I'm hosting one, I say. They're here. Well, perfect, she says, smoothing her tone into something she thinks sounds reasonable. Put me on. I'll clarify your conditions. Help with the med list. Explain your confusion last night. Confusion. Dana says, professional and neutral. Who is this? I'm her daughter, Rachel says. She's private. She will minimize. She tore up a $1 million check in a restaurant. She needed help into her coat. Marco offered because he is kind, I say. I can put on my own coat. Ruth, Rachel says, sharp again. This is serious. You're making this adversarial when we're only trying to keep you safe. Dana speaks calmly. We can't discuss our visit with you without Mrs. Hale's consent. You have it, Rachel says. You don't, I say. Goodbye, Rachel. You hang up on me and I'm calling an attorney, she says. I'll file for emergency guardianship today. Then file, I say, and end the call. Luis whistles under his breath, a single low note he regrets as soon as it's out. Dana pretends she didn't hear it. Mrs. Hale, she says. I appreciate your clarity. A ping from the sidewalk. Marcus shifts his stance toward a different angle and talks to his camera with an earnest brow. The caption will be a prayer about safety. The comments will be a blade. Do you want to look at the attic stairs? I ask. People like to imagine danger where there's a ladder. Dana smiles for real this time. Let's do it. We climb. The attic is clean and dry. The chest sits against the far wall. The one I opened last night after Rachel threatened the house. I rest my hand on it. Heirlooms, I say. Memories. Nothing liquid. We don't inventory heirlooms, she says. We look at rails. Back downstairs, Dana closes her folder. Mrs. Hale, she says. Here's what I'll document. You oriented to time, place, and person. Your home is orderly and safe. Your responses were consistent. We saw no evidence of cognitive impairment during our visit. She pauses. That doesn't mean we disappear. We'll follow up with a brief call next week. That's reasonable, I say. She glances toward the window again where Marcus lifts his hand to shade the glare from his own lens. We also note the presence of external parties filming you without consent. Public sidewalk, I say. Public pressure, she replies. Be careful, Mrs. Hale. They stand. I walk them to the door. As I open it, Marcus straightens like a puppet on a string. How did it go? He asks, voice bright enough to carry. We appreciate your concern, Dana says. Have a good day. Marcus's smile is sugar with sand in it. He keeps filming. We will keep showing up for Ruth, he says to his followers, to the heir, to the story he is making. After they leave, I set my phone on the table and let the quiet gather itself. Then, against my better judgment, I open Marcus's account. The new video is already up. Welfare visit. We did the right thing. He narrates while soft piano plays. He uses phrases like vulnerable adult and delicate situation. Then he makes a mistake. Halfway through the clip, the camera dips. The audio is crisp. His whisper is not to the audience, but to someone just out of frame. Don't mention the bank, he says. Just say she seemed confused about times and names. The camera swings back up. The smile refastens. If you weren't listening, you'd miss it. I listen twice. I cut the 9 seconds and save it with a plain title. Coaching_wave. I put it in paper walls. My phone rings again. Unknown number. I let it go. It rings immediately with the same number. I answer. Mrs. Hale. A new voice says, Male, Clerk Smooth. This is Ryan Cole with the firm Heron and Finch. I represent your daughter, Rachel. My back goes cool. Not fear. Readiness. Good afternoon, I say. I'm calling as a courtesy, he says. We're preparing a petition to establish a temporary conservatorship for your property and person based on numerous reports of confused behavior, dangerous self-neglect, and financial volatility, including tearing up a large check in public yesterday. We'll be serving you shortly. If you wish to avoid a messy public process, we recommend you stipulate to a limited order and voluntary evaluation. We can make this smooth. I have counsel, I say. You will speak to him. We will, he says pleasantly. But I'm speaking to you now. Think of this as an olive branch. I prefer oak, I say. Harder to bend. He chuckles like he's practiced it in a mirror. The judge won't enjoy stubbornness. The judge will enjoy evidence, I say. I had visitors today who brought some. I have recordings. I have logs. He shrugs with his voice. We'll see you in court, Mrs. Hale. Expect a process server within the hour. The line goes dead without a goodbye. I text David. Attorney for Rachel just called. Conservatorship threat. Serving within the hour. I have the welfare visit on video and a clip of Marcus coaching his camera. Don't mention the bank. His reply lands in 10 seconds. Excellent. Save everything to our shared drive. Do not answer the door except to accept service. On service, say nothing. Sign nothing. Forward PDF to me. I send the files. I check the front camera. A car slows. Not the server, just a neighbor I don't know well doing a slow roll. Curious. I call Pastor Williams. Might need you tomorrow, I say. Not church, court. I'll polish the shoes, she says. The doorbell rings again. 2 sharp chimes, different from the polite tone of the state visit. Through the glass, a young man in a suit holds a clipboard and looks like he has a quota. I open the door. Ruth Hale, he asks. Yes. He hands me a thick envelope. You've been served, he says with a rehearsed gravity that doesn't quite land. He turns and jogs down the steps before the dust of his sentence can settle. I close the door, carry the envelope to the table, and set it next to the pitcher of water and the list in thick black pen. The paper is heavy, not as tough as a check, but tough enough to pretend. I don't open it. I press record on my phone again and read the date and time out loud. Then I call David. The file will open on his screen first. Outside, the sidewalk lenses keep blinking. Little red eyes that don't know how to see. David's conference room is all light and quiet wood. A long table, a bowl of green apples, pens that don't sputter. He moves like he has 7 hands. Printer, scanner, laptop, phone. Sit, he says. We build. I sit. I put the paper walls folder on the table like a toolbox. He slides a legal pad toward me. Timeline first, he says. Short, exact. Then artifacts, numbered. We work. I speak. He writes in block letters that would make a judge nod. Restaurant, coffee thrown, $1 million check torn. Social posts, Marcus safety narrative, coaching wave. Bank, attempted contact addition declined. Welfare request through off-site line. Welfare visit today. Clean findings, Dana and Luis. He prints each as its own page, labels them with tabs. He opens my files, renames them, Exhibit A, B, C. He clicks, collates, breathes. The copier hums like a low hive. Declaration, he says. Your words sworn. He drafts as he speaks, eyes on the screen. I, Ruth Hale of sound mind. He has me list my daily systems, emergency contacts, bill pay rhythm, medications. He has me recite today's safety visit, then the exact sentence Marcus whispered, "Don't mention the bank," and where it lives in the file. A notary from down the hall comes in with a tidy stamp and a polite face. "Raise your right hand," she says. I do. I read with care. I sign. The stamp thunks like a lock turning. "Living trust," David says, already at a cabinet. A slim binder lands on the table. "We restated yours 3 years ago after Martha passed. Do you recall the clause we added at your insistence?" I remember the conversation at this same table. The way grief made everything sharp. "Yes," I say. He flips to a page and places it in front of me. They're in my own careful initials, a clause that says succession requires 2 independent physicians to certify incapacity. Not social media. Not gossip. Not a daughter's request. It also says no one may assume control of trust assets without that certification and notice to counsel. A no contest clause sits below it like a thin blade. David taps it with the pen. "This saved you 3 years later and didn't know it," he says. "We make 3 copies. 1 for court, 1 for the bank, 1 for your files. We add a cover letter. The successor trustee is not Rachel. The trust is unrevoked and operative. The trustee is in place." He assembles a packet that could stop a door. My declaration. The welfare letter. Laurel's note. A screen cap of Marcus's whisper with transcript. The trust excerpt. Martha's handwriting in the margins of a household checklist I still follow on Sundays. It is less about law than about a life that works. His phone buzzes. He reads, smiles without warmth. "Opposing counsel wants an ex parte hearing tomorrow morning," he says. "Emergency, to prevent waste." Waste. I say. "They'll say your property is at risk because of erratic decisions," he says. "The torn check is their showpiece." "It never existed," I say. "They'll say it did in spirit," he says. "We will say spirits don't clear banking law, and we'll waive Laurel." He writes a short, muscular opposition. Words like unsupported, pretextual, bad faith, publicity campaign. He quotes the law as if it were a fence post you can lean on. He slides the draft to me. I read it. He edits while I breathe. "Now," he says, softer. "I want a letter to Rachel. Not sent. Placed in our record. It says this: I love you. Your methods are violent. It says, if you come to my home uninvited, I will call the police. It says, if you contact my bank again, I will seek sanctions. It says, if you wish to help me, do it in the open with counsel." He looks at me. "Can you sign that?" "Yes," I say. We print. I sign. The notary stamps again. Each thud resets my spine. The door opens without a knock. Ryan, smooth voice from the phone, steps in with a smile and a folder. And behind him, as if this were her stage, Rachel. David doesn't stand. He looks at the door, then at his calendar. "You don't have an appointment," he says. "Just a courtesy drop," Ryan says, "since we're neighbors in litigation now." "Drop it at reception," David says. Rachel can't help herself. She takes a seat at the far end, uninvited. "Mom," she says, light and injured at once. "Why make this ugly?" David slides his hand toward the door, not looking at her. Security appears like a conjured fact. An older man with forearms like fence rails. He leans on the jamb and says nothing. Ryan decides to sit anyway, slow and deliberate, as if faking calm can change jurisdiction. "Here's our petition," he says, sliding the folder toward David. "Emergency conservatorship. Specific to finances which my clients are in a trust outside your reach, except by the trust instrument," David says, not touching the folder. "An instrument you haven't read." Ryan smiles like he's used to people underestimating his stamina for nonsense. "We'll let a judge decide what's reachable." "We will," David says, and flips the petition open with one finger as if it might leak. He scans, snorts. "Waste." She pays her bills on time. She has a pill organizer that makes me jealous. Your evidence is a check she chose not to issue and a coffee stain you caused. Rachel flinches at that. Quick flicker. She looked confused, she says. She is lonely. She needs structure. She has it, I say. You're confusing lonely with without you. They aren't the same. She locks on me. The girl who wanted to run into the lake looks out from her eyes for a second, then slams the window shut. If you weren't so proud, this would be simple, she says. David turns a page, finds the right one, lifts it with the pen tip, and lays the trust clause between us like a playing card that wins the hand. 2 independent physicians, he reads. Not your husband's comment section. Ryan's jaw works. He recovers. Then let's pivot, he says smoothly. We're also concerned about the real property. The house is aging. Our client worries about code safety, loose handrails, electrical clutter. She's prepared to request an inspection and, if necessary, a forced sale to fund appropriate care. Gerald pulled out more papers. This is where it gets interesting. Derek Wright filed 2 incident reports at Grady Memorial over the past 6 weeks. Both claimed he observed his mother-in-law, that's you, displaying signs of cognitive decline, talking to herself, forgetting recent conversations, showing paranoid tendencies. He submitted these to Dr. Carlos Ramirez, a psychiatrist in the hospital's behavioral health unit. The same Dr. Ramirez he mentioned in the recording. The same. I did some digging. Turns out Dr. Ramirez had a complaint filed against him last year. Patient claimed he was negligent in a medication management case. The complaint was withdrawn before it went to the medical board. Want to guess who worked in the same department and might have had access to complaint files? Derek. Exactly. He made that complaint disappear, and now Ramirez owes him. That's the leverage he's using to get him to sign off on an incompetency evaluation. Gerald leaned forward. Here's the thing. These incident reports are fabricated. You were never talking to yourself in any concerning way. You're not forgetting conversations. This is fraud, Mrs. Wright. Medical document fraud, which in Georgia is a Class 5 felony. Patricia was making notes rapidly. And Southern Behavioral Health. They have a contract with Grady Memorial. Derek has professional relationships there. He's referred patients before. When he and Monica were ready to move, he'd have Ramirez sign the M1 emergency hold documents. Then Southern Behavioral would execute the pickup within hours. By the time anyone questioned it, Mrs. Wright would already be institutionalized for the mandatory 72-hour hold. I sat back, processing it all. The scheme was more elaborate than I'd realized, more calculated. They'd been planning this for months, laying groundwork, creating false documentation, leveraging professional relationships. So what do we do? I asked. Patricia looked at Gerald, then at me. We wait. We continue documenting. We have the psychiatric evaluation proving competency. We have the trust-protecting assets. We have evidence of fraud. But we need them to make one more move. We need them to actually attempt the involuntary commitment. You want to use me as bait? I want to catch them in the act, Patricia corrected. With law enforcement present, with witnesses, with undeniable proof. Right now, we have evidence of conspiracy and fraud. But if we can document an actual attempt to execute this plan, we have them on multiple felonies with no room for plausible deniability. It's a risk, Gerald added. But Ms. Chan and I will coordinate with Atlanta PD. When the behavioral health van shows up, so do the police. You won't actually be taken anywhere. I thought about Olivia, worried and scared. About Raymond, unaware his sister was capable of this. About Monica and Derek, so confident in their plan, so certain I was too old and trusting to notice. And I understood exactly how to repay them. Set it up, I said. When they come for me again, I want to be ready. The next 2 weeks passed in careful preparation. Patricia coordinated with Atlanta PD. Officers Johnson and Martinez would be on standby. Gerald monitored Monica and Derek's communications, tracking their movements, anticipating their timeline. I continued my routine. Made breakfast, played chess online, worked on organizing my collection of vintage stenography machines. Monica and Derek were in the living room speaking in low voices I couldn't quite hear from my office, but I didn't need to hear them. The microphones would capture everything. Later that night, I put on my headphones and listened to the day's recordings. Monica was on the phone with someone, probably a margin call creditor. I need 2 more weeks. Yes, I understand the penalties. I'm working on securing funds, family assets. It'll be liquid soon. I just need time. Derek's voice, sharp. We can't wait 2 weeks. Rick from SunTrust called me today, asked if I knew anything about a home equity application in your mother's name. I played dumb, but Monica, they're asking questions. Then we move up the timeline. Carlos can have the M1 documents ready by next week. We'll say Claudette is a danger to herself. Southern Behavioral can pick her up within hours once Carlos signs off. Do it. We're out of time. I stopped the recording, saved it, backed it up. They were accelerating, which meant our trap would spring sooner than expected. Perfect. The next morning, I called Patricia. They're moving up their timeline, probably within a week. Then we'll be ready. I'll alert Officer Johnson. Gerald will monitor. You just need to act normal. Act normal. After listening to my daughter plan to institutionalize me, steal my house, take everything I'd built, act like I didn't know she saw me as nothing more than an obstacle to money she felt entitled to. I could do that. I'd been doing it for weeks. Because when the black van came back, when they thought they'd finally won, when Monica and Derek believed they'd successfully trapped their trusting, naive mother, that's when they discover exactly how wrong they were. 5 days later, at 2:20 in the afternoon, I was in my office when I heard it, the low rumble of a diesel engine. I looked out the window and felt my pulse quicken. The black Ford Transit was back. Same logo on the side. Southern Behavioral Health Services. I picked up my phone, sent a single text to Patricia. They're here. Her response came instantly. 5 minutes. I moved to my desk, opened the locked drawer where I kept all my evidence files, pulled out a manila folder. Inside were transcripts of every conversation Monica and Derek had about their plan, time-stamped and notarized, copies of Dr. Foster's evaluation, documentation of the forged credit application, everything organized, indexed, ready. From downstairs, I heard the front door open. Voices. Monica speaking loudly. She wanted me to hear this. Yes, that's right. She's been increasingly unstable. This morning, she threatened me with a knife from the kitchen. Started shouting about conspiracies and people trying to steal from her. I almost laughed. This morning I'd been reading the newspaper while eating grits. The only thing I'd threatened was the crossword puzzle. A different voice. Male. Authoritative. And you're certain she's a danger to herself or others? Absolutely certain. That was Derek. I'm a nurse at Grady Memorial. I've observed clear signs of psychotic breaks, paranoid delusions. She stopped taking her medications. I didn't take any medications, but he'd know that wouldn't matter if I was already institutionalized. We have the M1 emergency hold documentation, the male voice continued. Dr. Ramirez from Grady Memorial signed off. Where is Mrs. Wright currently? Her office, 2nd floor, Monica said. Please be careful. She might become violent. I heard footsteps on the stairs. Heavy boots. Multiple people. I stayed seated at my desk, hands folded calmly, waiting. The door opened. 2 orderlies in white uniforms, built like linebackers. Behind them, a man in his early 40s, wearing a white coat, carrying a clipboard. Dr. Carlos Ramirez. I presumed. Mrs. Wright. Ramirez's voice was professionally sympathetic. I'm Dr. Ramirez from Grady Memorial. Your daughter and son-in-law have expressed serious concerns about your mental state. We're here to conduct a wellness check. I'm perfectly well, I said calmly, but thank you for your concern. Rachel jumps in. Exactly, she says. Mom, don't make me file more. Please. I raise the folder. You filed enough, I say. Emergency conservatorship. Appraisal ambush. Welfare check. Whisper for the camera. Don't mention the bank. I have your strategy on tape. Elise glances at Marcus. Is that true? She asks. Marcus smiles like sugar on a bruise. We're documenting, he says. Things get misheard. Elise exhales through her nose. She looks at me again. One practical suggestion, she says. Pick a deadline. Offer a door that opens a little on your terms at a time you control. Otherwise, they'll argue you're refusing any safety review, and a judge could grant a broader order than you want. They can ask my attorney, I say. These men can measure the sidewalk. The porch is a no. Rachel's mask slips. This is insane, she says. You're treating me like a thief. Stop acting like one, I say. Elise steps between us with a palm at waist height. Let's keep it in the lane, she says. To me, if I draft a written proposal, your inspector, your date, limited to railings and detectors, would you consider it within 7 days? Consider, I say. Not promise. Counsel reviews first. Rachel opens her mouth. Elise tilts her head at her. A quiet sideways no. Rachel swallows the speech and stares at the maple instead. The taller Polo checks his watch. We can do exterior measurements from here, he says weakly. You can do from the sidewalk, I say. Not 1 inch of my steps. He nods to his case. The tape flicks out, stops short of the first riser, snaps back with a tired sound. Elise softens her voice for me alone. I know what you're defending, she says. I grew up in a house like this. It holds a marriage. It makes a life make sense. But systems roll when you stand still. Give me something to take back so they stop pushing doors. I look at the porch. I look at the brass light. I look at Marcus, who knows he's losing this scene and angles his phone to show my face anyway, hunting for a flinch. Fine, I say. Here's what I'll give. A written counter-proposal through counsel by close of business tomorrow. It will name an inspector I trust. It will limit scope to safety features, not value, no appraisals, no photos by outsiders, no social media. If any of that is violated, the deal dies. And until then, no one steps on my property. Elise nods. I can work with that, she says. She turns to Rachel. Hold off filings on the house for a week, she says. Let's see if this cures the pressure. Rachel won't say yes to me. She says it to her. 1 week, she says. Then we move. Marcus lifts his phone again. Ruth's being thoughtful, he says to the lens. We're proud. End the stream, I say. He laughs. Public sidewalk, he sings. Elise turns to him. The patience leaves her face for a second. I'm not your prop, she says. End it. Marcus lowers the phone. He presses his lips together. He taps. The red dot blinks out. Elise writes on a small pad. I'll email both sides a memo, she says. Mrs. Hale, thank you for engaging. Rachel, leave the appraisers off the porch. She looks at the Polos. You heard her. Sidewalk only. They pack the tape. They step back. They measure air and call it work. Rachel lingers. You're going to lose, she says quietly. In court. In the neighborhood. You looked like a tyrant just now. I looked like an owner, I say. Of a home and a spine. Elise gives me a small nod. Not warm, but real. She heads to her car. The sidewalk thins. Marcus drifts toward Rachel. They speak in low, animated lines, Heads close. The polos retreat to their sedan. The street exhales. I unlock the door and step inside. I lock it again. The lock clicks with the small satisfaction of a task done right. I call David. Mediator came, I say. HOA adjacent. Tried to be Switzerland. I offered a written safety-only inspection on our terms within 7 days. No appraisal, no cameras, no entry until then. Good, he says. Send me her card. I read the name. He hums. She's competent. She flips under pressure sometimes. We'll draft and send at noon tomorrow. In court, we'll mention your offer. Judges like measured people. Rachel agreed to hold off a week, I say. She'll test that by Monday, he says. But it gives me time to lock the HOA. Also, tonight. Lock everything. She hates waiting. I look around the living room. The afternoon light moves across the rug we bought in a year we could afford nice rugs. The house hums like a patient animal. There's a knock at the back door. I check the camera. It's Sharon with a 6-pack of ginger ale. She holds it up like peace. I let her in. Heard voices, she says. You want me to stand on the porch for an hour and look tall? I smile. The first true one today. Maybe later, I say. For now, drink a soda and talk about anything that isn't law. We sit at the table. We talk about the high school team and the stupid new parking meters. She leaves the ginger ale and a promise. Call if the lights outside get weird, she says. I'm up late. After she leaves, the house goes still in a way I respect. I walk to the hallway. I look up the attic stairs. I climb. The air is cooler there. The chest sits under the slope of the roof, exactly where I left it. The brass has dulled. The lid knows my hands. I kneel. I slide the old key from the string I keep in a dish. I fit it. I turn. The lock turns back with a soft reluctance. I lift the lid and breathe the air that comes out. Cedar, paper, a note of winter. Inside, under a folded quilt Martha stitched, is the thing Rachel wants more than she knows. The thing she thinks proves love. The thing she will try to use as a lever. I set the quilt aside. I touch the heirloom once. My hand is steady. Downstairs, my phone vibrates. A calendar ping. Ex-parte hearing. 9 a.m. Then a text from an unknown number. Media request. Will you comment on tomorrow's emergency hearing? I close the chest halfway. I look at the dark beyond the opening. I know what this object can do in the right hands at the right time. I slide my fingers under it. The lid creaks. I lift. Sunday light turns the church steps into a clean stage. Pastor Williams waits by the red doors with a clipboard and the slow patience of a woman who has watched a lot of storms pass. 2 volunteers stand beside her with white cotton gloves. The bell hasn't rung yet. The square is quiet except for gulls and a bus that sighs at the corner. I park in the side lot and carry the cedar box like a reasonable weight. Marcus is already across the street with his hood up. Off today in his caption, but not off enough to miss a scene. The red dot blooms. Of course it does. Pastor Williams meets me halfway. Morning, Ruth. Morning, I say. Let's make this simple. We stand in the sunlight. She clears her throat and looks into my phone when I raise it. For the parish archive, she says. A restricted gift. Non-transferable, not for sale. I lift the lid. The quilt folds back. The heirloom catches the sun. A brass nautical sextant in its fitted cradle. The letters MH engraved on the ark by a hand that belonged to my late husband's grandfather. It is beautiful and exact. It is also the one thing Rachel would sell first because she thinks value lives on auction sites. Pastor Williams nods to the volunteers. They step forward in their gloves. On camera, I say. Say the words. She does. We accept this sextant as a permanent gift to Grace Baptist Church Archive. It may be displayed. It may be conserved. It may not be sold, lent, or appraised for private use. She looks at me. Do you consent, Mrs. Hale? I do, I say. As donor. I look across the street at the lens. As owner. Marcus tries to keep the smile pleasant. It looks like a pulled muscle. A Prius rolls to the curb. Elise steps out with her leather tote and a faint frown. That means she hasn't decided anything yet. The volunteers lift the sextant and set it into a padded case. Pastor Williams signs the intake form with careful strokes. I sign under hers. She holds the clipboard so the camera can see the line. No sale, no loan. Donor retains moral rights of display context. Elise watches all of it. You're putting it beyond argument, she says. I'm putting it beyond Rachel, I say. Same thing, she says, almost smiling. For today. Rachel arrives like a late wind. Black SUV, door slam, fast stride. She takes in the scene in a heartbeat. Sextant leaving. Pastor present. Witnesses on camera. Her mouth makes a shape I haven't seen since she was 10 and the last firework misfired into the lake. What is this? She says low. A gift, I say. In my control. To a place that won't sell my family to pay for your plans. You don't even sail, she says. I always knew how to find my way home, I say. She looks at Elise for backup. Elise studies her like a painting that might be counterfeit. She executed a restricted donation in public, Rachel, Elise says. That's as clean as it gets. You're supposed to be neutral, she says. I am, Elise says. I'm also literate. Marcus lifts his phone higher. We're happy, he says to the lens. Ruth's making choices. You hate my choices, I say. Not on camera, he says. Pastor Williams clears her throat. We're open for service in 10 minutes, she says softly. Welcome to sit. Welcome to leave. Rachel points at the case. This is theft, she says. She doesn't know what she's doing. I know exactly what I'm doing, I say. I'm preventing your best lever from entering your hands. Elise touches Rachel's sleeve. Just 2 fingers. Don't fight this here, she says. You're losing the room. Rachel looks around. People have started to gather on the steps. Neighbors, parishioners, 2 teenagers with skateboards who pretend they aren't filming. Sharon leans on the railing like a lighthouse. She gives me a little nod. Rachel drops her hand. Fine, she says. Keep your antique. The court will care about current accounts, not museum toys. Courts care about intent, Elise says. This shows hers. Rachel sneers. Her intent is spite. My intent, I say, is dignity. We go inside. I sit near the back. Elise slides into the pew across the aisle, close enough to be a witness, far enough to pretend she's a stranger. Rachel and Marcus take the last row and murmur at a phone between them. Pastor Williams moves through the liturgy like a slow river. I let the rhythm wash over the parts of me that aren't made of paper and proof. Midway through, my phone vibrates twice. Do not disturb is on. Only a few names can break it. David. Good clip. Donation receipt landed. Perfect optics. Judge will see. Then another. Laurel from Riverside Community Bank. Heads up. Someone just emailed a letter from you authorizing Rachel to receive statement copies. We're not fools. Signature looks off. Want to see the PDF? I type under the pew rail. Yes. Send. Communion ends. People move like water. When they sit, my phone buzzes again. A PDF slides onto the screen. Authorization_Ruth_Hale.pdf. I open it. My name at the top. My old address. Martha's handwriting never missed a comma. This fakes her comma. A paragraph that pretends to be me authorizing my daughter, Rachel Hale, to receive monthly statements for convenience, citing vague health reasons. The signature block tries to copy my loop and the hard downstroke on the H. I zoom in. My stomach goes cold in a useful way. Elise leans over the aisle. Problem, she whispers. Evidence, I whisper back. I stare at the signature. There are things a forger can't know. I grind my pen on the first downstroke of an H. The pressure leaves a faint groove you can feel with a fingertip on the back of the page. It's a habit from an old fountain pen I used for 30 years. Even with ballpoint, the habit remains. My signatures have typography. This PDF is smooth. The stroke width never tightens. The crossbar sits 0.5 millimeter higher than it does when my wrist is relaxed. The tail on the E curls the wrong way. I scroll. The date format is British. Day, month, year. I haven't written dates that way since a semester abroad. Laurel would spot that, too. The bank's letterhead is an older logo. They retired it last winter. Someone grabbed a template without knowing they changed the spacing on the river icon. Pastor Williams's voice lifts in a hymn. Rachel isn't singing. She's texting. 2 pews back. Marcus is editing something with his thumbs. The red dot is off. The damage is in draft. Elise reads my face like a brief. She breathes out very softly. You have them, she says. Not yet, I say. But I see the seam. After service, Pastor Williams stands at the door and shakes hands like a metronome. People squeeze my shoulder. Nora from the HOA leans in. I saw what you did, she whispers. Thank you for making it public. Public keeps liars tired, I say. She nods toward Elise. She told the board to stand down this week, she says. Her exact phrase was, stop acting like a second courthouse. Elise hears and doesn't deny it. I'll send the memo today, she says to me. And I'll testify to the donation if needed. Rachel pushed too far. Marcus materializes with the smile reattached. Ruth, he says. What a lovely gift. Your heart is big. You tried to sell my heart yesterday, I say. Not sell, he says sweetly. Unlock. Rachel steps closer. We stand pewside in a small triangle of tension. She keeps her voice down for once. You looked clever in there, she says. Don't confuse theater with strategy. Tomorrow is real. Tomorrow is law, I say. You're not good at law. She laughs without humor. You think the judge will watch your little church moment? I think the judge will read a sworn declaration, a welfare letter, a trust clause, and a restricted gift receipt, I say. And maybe your husband's whisper about the bank. Marcus's eye twitches. He recovers. That was out of context, he says. Context is my house, I say. Rachel tilts her head. Here's my context, she says. She pulls her phone out and tilts it so only I see the screen. An email draft sits open. Attachments. Authorization _Ruth_Hale.pdf. Credit card _Astu_Notice.png. Missed appointment _Evidence.jpg. Her voice drops. These go to a reporter in an hour. They'll run before court. You'll look confused. You'll look inconsistent. You'll look like a woman who needs a steady hand. Send them, I say. Then watch me pull them apart in the morning. You won't get the chance, she says. Judges hate mess. He'll tamp it with a quick order. Guardianship light, they call it. Judges hate liars more, I say. Elise steps between us again with that quiet palm. Enough, she says. Rachel. If you leak, I will say publicly that I observed a clean donation and a capable donor. I will say you tried to force an appraisal in a parking lot. I will say you're running PR on a family matter. Rachel blinks. She didn't expect Elise to flip. You're a mediator, she says. I'm a witness, Elise says. Now Rachel looks at Marcus. He nods, tiny and fierce. She swallows the anger and dresses it up as concern. I'll see you in the morning, she says. Bring your coat. Courtrooms are cold. They leave. The air warms 3 degrees. Outside, Sharon claps my shoulder. Good move, she says. That brass thing is safer than any lock. It was never about the brass, I say. It was about the story around it. She grins. You're getting good at their game. I'm getting good at mine, I say. Back home, I forward Laurel's PDF to David with a short note. Forgeries inbound. See date format, logo version, signature typography. Prepare pressure demo. He replies in less than a minute. Already printing. Bring your old fountain pen if you still have it. Judge loves tactile proofs. I take the pen from the drawer where it's weighted like a small patient animal. I write my name on a blank card 3 times. The grooves show on the reverse like a faint blind map. I photograph front and back. I send the files. The afternoon settles. I make a sandwich. I check the porch camera. A stray cat decides my mat is a sun square and sleeps. I let it. At 5, my phone pings. A push alert from a local blog that likes drama more than grammar. Exclusive. Docs show Riverside woman's finances in disarray ahead of court. I open it. Marcus's fingerprints are on every paragraph. They embed the forged authorization with a red circle around my signature. They blur my address like mercy. They include a past due notice that uses a font the utility company stopped using in 2018. They quote an unnamed family source about wandering at night and mixing up dates. They spell my name right. They spelled dignity wrong. I breathe once, twice. I copy the link and send it to David. Levy broke. He replies, perfect. Screen captured. We'll introduce it tomorrow as Exhibit G for garbage. I print the blog page anyway. I print the fake authorization at 200% and circle the telltales in pencil. I set them beside the card with my pressed signature and the reverse where the grooves live like typography lines. The sun drops. The maple outside throws a slow shadow across the rug. I switch on the brass lamp by the piano. The circle of light looks like the restaurant's light, minus the coffee and the crowd. The house breathes with me. My phone buzzes one more time. A text from Pastor Williams. The sextant is safe. Also, I'm proud of you. I set the phone down and pick up the fountain pen. I write Ruth Hale one more time, slow, the way Martha liked to watch me sign cards at Christmas. The paper pushes back, then gives. On the back, the grooves rise like a quiet truth. I hold the forger's PDF up beside it. There, the crossbar, the tail, the weight. I see you, I say to the page. Tomorrow I show everyone else. Morning comes clean and cold. I put the fountain pen in my jacket pocket the way other men carry luck. David meets me at his office with a portable document camera and a stack of cardstock. We rehearse once, he says. Then we go harvest the tape. What tape? Laurel's lobby cameras, he says. She called at dawn. There's something you'll like. We sit at the conference table. He clips my card under the lens. Write your name the way you always do, he says. Slow, no flourishes. I write Ruth Hale. The nib pulls a steady groove I can feel through the paper like a ridge line on a map. He flips the card. The grooves lift on the back. Proof you can touch. Now the counterfeit, he says, sliding the printed PDF of authorization under the failed PDF beside it. No groove, wrong line weight, crossbar too high, tail curled wrong. He hits record and narrates like a nature program. Observe. Genuine signature has pressure valleys evident on reverse. Counterfeit is surface only. No typography. Date format British. Bank logo retired last winter. He stops the recording and smiles. Judges like when truth fits in their hands. Let's go make it heavier, I say. Riverside Community Bank smells like copier toner and lemon wipes. Laurel waves us into her office and locks the door. We wrote an affidavit, she says, passing David a stapled document. Declining access edition, verifying the forgery, verifying the off-site welfare call time. And she turns her screen. This. On the monitor, a 4-panel grid shows yesterday's lobby. The timestamp sits white and unblinking in the corner. Marcus walks in wearing his careful concern like a cardigan. He leans on the counter, phone face down for once. He smiles a smile that asks the teller to be complicit. Laurel scrubs forward. Audio picks up. It's not beautiful, but it's clear. No, I'm not on the account, Marcus says, soft and firm. But we need to make sure she's safe. If there were a way to add my wife as a contact without all that paperwork, just for statements, she gets confused about dates. We're documenting for safety. The teller, young, smart enough to look at the camera once, shakes her head. We need the account holder here, she says, with ID. Marcus leans in. What if she wrote a letter? She does better in the mornings, he whispers. But she's not up to coming in. I can bring it back today. It just needs to look tidy. Laurel pauses the video there. David exhales through his teeth. That's coaching, he says. On tape. Laurel nods. We pulled the audio from the counter mic. I can certify chain of custody. The teller will sign a declaration. She was uncomfortable as hell. Good, David says. We'll mark it as Exhibit H. Laurel clicks play again. Marcus slides a sample letter across the counter. Blank spaces where a name and date should go. We just need a template, he says. She mixes up lines. I'll help. The teller pushes the paper back and points to the sign that says no third-party access without account holder present. Marcus's mouth tightens. He takes the paper, smiles like a weather forecaster after bad news, and leaves. Laurel stops the video. Your daughter came in an hour later, she says. Wanted to follow up. We invited her to leave. David's pen is already moving. Affidavit from teller. Affidavit from Laurel. Certified video clip. Perfect. Can we take a copy now? I ask. Laurel slides a thumb drive across the desk. It's yours, she says. We'll email the declarations by noon. I look at the paused frame, the angle of Marcus's head, the way his hand almost covers the no third-party sign. He always finds the light. Today, the light found him. On the way out, in the glass foyer, we run into them. Rachel in a sharp coat that looks borrowed from a better woman. Marcus in his soft concern uniform. He actually startles when he sees me, then recovers with a smile for the lobby camera. What a coincidence, he says. No, Laurel says from behind us, voice flat. Appointments exist. Rachel looks past us toward Laurel's office. We're here to clarify. You're here to leave, Laurel says. Unless your mother is with you. She is not. Rachel's eyes flick to my pocket where the edge of the thumb drive shows. She connects dots and doesn't like the picture. We should talk privately, Mom, she says. This public dance helps no one. Then stop choreographing, I say. Marcus tilts his head. Ruth, you're inflamed. Let's not escalate before court. Court is where escalation goes to die, I say. A customer enters behind them and the doors whisper shut. The lobby feels like a rehearsal hall right before an audition. Rachel lowers her voice to a pitch that used to work on me when she was 12. You really want this humiliating circus, she says. When we could settle. Limited guardianship. Just for finances. I don't even need full control. Read-only access. Transparency. We can call it support. We avoid headlines. You already went to the blogs, I say, with forged letters and past due notices from 2018. Her cheeks color. Marcus stays buttery. Any errors were good faith confusion, he says. Our goal is safety. I look at Laurel. She looks back with cedar in her eyes. Mrs. Hale, she says, loud enough for the lobby mic. If anyone attempts to add themselves or obtain statements without you present, we will call Riverside PD. We will also provide the court with all relevant footage. Thank you, I say. Rachel's jaw flexes. You're embarrassing yourself, she says, parading around with a fountain pen and church props. Props become proofs when you handle them right, I say. You're about to learn the difference. We leave them under the camera. The glass doors sigh closed like relief. Back at David's, we build a little theater. He sets the document camera over the conference table. Cardstock on one side, forged PDF on the other. He has me sign 3 more times. We film the front, then the back, where the grooves lift like small mountains. He is so calm it feels like weather. Now the pressure demo, he says. He gives me a ballpoint. Sign the same. Press as you always do. I do. Even with a cheap pen, the groove rises. He films my hand, then the reverse. And now, he says, a little science. He pulls out a small desk lamp and angles it low so the light rakes across the paper. The grooves cast tiny shadows. On the fake, the surface is flat as paint. Judges like shadows, he says. They make truth visible. He prints a still of the 2 signatures side by side under the raking light. He labels them genuine, reverse valleys, and forgery, reverse flat. He smiles. I could almost teach an evidence class with this. My phone buzzes. A number I don't know that's already familiar. The clerk's office. I answer. Mrs. Hale, Department 3 moved your hearing to 8:30 a.m. Judge Markham has a packed docket. Thank you, I say. I'll be there. David hears and nods. Earlier is better. Less time for their PR machine. We eat quick sandwiches in the conference room because food makes you less theatrical. He lays our stack in trial order. Exhibit A. My sworn declaration. Exhibit B. Welfare visit letter. No impairment observed. Exhibit C. Banknote declining access edition plus extra verification. Exhibit D. Clip of Marcus's. Don't mention the bank. Exhibit E. Trust clause. 2 independent physicians required. No contest clause. Exhibit F. Restricted donation receipt. Sextant. Exhibit G. The blog leak printed and marked with telltales. Exhibit H. Bank lobby video. Marcus coaching the teller. Affidavit from Laurel and the teller. Exhibit I. Signature typography demo. Front, back, stills plus live card. Exhibit J. Timeline page. $50K ask. $500,000 ask. 500% variance. $1 million check torn. He taps the last page. Numbers are your spine, he says. Simplicity wins. At 4, we take a walk. 5 blocks. Brisk. Silent. Riverside smells like wood smoke and cold metal. When we loop back, my phone lights up with 3 missed calls from Rachel and 1 from an unlisted number. A text follows, slick as oil. Let's be adults. 7 p.m. at Riverside Community Bank parking lot. Mediated chat. Elise will be there. Leave props at home. David reads over my shoulder. She wants a corner with no microphones, he says. You're not going. I'm not, I say. But Elise might. She's already dialing. Elise, do not meet them in a parking lot, he says into the phone. If they ask, send them to me. Tomorrow, we do this in the light. He listens. Good. Also, check your inbox. You're a witness now. We drive to the bank anyway, not to meet, but to pick up the signed teller affidavit. Laurel hands it to David through the vestibule slot and taps the glass. Good luck, written backward for us to read. Through the pane, I see my reflection with the pen in my breast pocket. A small dark line where a weapon would sit on another woman. It makes me smile. When we step out, Marcus is on the sidewalk like weather again. Rachel is beside him, jaw wired shut by her own control. A local stringer with a camera pretends to fiddle with his settings while aiming straight at my face. Ruth, Marcus says, We're turning the temperature down. We offered a private talk. You offered a pregame, I say. This is the game. He angles the phone. Just confirm you're safe, he says. Tell your neighbors. They worry. I'm safe, I say. From you most of all. He laughs. Say that again, he says. Slower. David steps forward, voice like steel under velvet. Any footage taken today will be played tomorrow next to bank lobby video of you coaching a teller, he says. You're not good at picking cameras. The stringer blinks. Marcus's smile twitches. Rachel looks at David like she's just realized he's not a supporting character in her story. See you at 8:30, David says, and we walk. At home, the light drops fast. Sharon texts. Porch light out across the street. If anyone messes with yours, I'm on it. I flip mine on anyway. The brass fixture throws a steady circle, same as the restaurant's lamp before everything tipped. I like circles. They make rooms honest. I lay out tomorrow's clothes. Dark jacket, clean blouse, the one Martha liked because the cuffs behaved. I put the fountain pen by my keys. I print one more copy of the trust clause and slide it into the slim folder. I check the porch camera. The stray cat has chosen a different mat tonight. At 7:30, my phone lights with an unknown number. I let it go, then listen to the voicemail because I believe in knowing the shape of the storm. Mrs. Hale, Ryan says, smooth as ever. One last courtesy. If you stipulate to limited guardianship before 8 a.m., statements access, weekly welfare check, appraisal order, we can avoid an ugly morning. I'll draft something simple. Think it over. I text David. Ryan's olive branch. Thorns attached. He replies. Good. Judges hate pre-cooked ultimatums. Screenshot saved. I make tea. I stand at the kitchen window and watch my porch light hold its circle. The house hums around me like an instrument tuned. I take the pen, sign my name on another card, flip it, run my thumb over the grooves, and feel the truth rise under my skin. My phone buzzes one more time. A calendar alert I didn't set. 8:30 a.m. Department 3. Bring empathy. Rachel thinks she's witty. She always did. I smile despite myself. I turn off the kitchen light and leave the porch light on. Upstairs, the suit waits on its hanger. Downstairs, the folder waits on the table. On the sidewalk across the street, a small red light blinks and doesn't learn a thing. I set my alarm. Tomorrow, the paper talks. Department 3 smells like dust and coffee. The gallery murmurs until the clerk says, all rise, and the room lifts as one. Judge Markham takes the bench. Gray hair, clean eyes, a patience that says he has seen every kind of family lie and still believes paper can tell the truth. Ryan stands first with a stack he thinks looks like facts. Rachel sits beside him, jaw locked. Marcus takes the second row and arranges his face for sympathy. David touches my sleeve once. Ground wire, and we rise. Emergency petition for temporary conservatorship, the clerk reads. Heron and Finch for petitioner. Hale and Ortiz for respondent. Ryan starts smooth. Your Honor, we don't come lightly. Mrs. Hale tore up a $1 million check in public, appears in viral videos confused and agitated, refuses safety inspections, and is subject to multiple community concerns. We seek a limited temporary order, statements access, appraisal authority, weekly wellness checks, so her property isn't wasted and her person isn't endangered. Evidence. Judge Markham asks, already bored with adjectives. Ryan hands up their packet. The blog printout sits on top like a neon sign. Exhibit 1, he says. Coverage of her disarray. Exhibit 2, an authorization letter permitting statements access. Exhibit 3, community messages. Exhibit 4, a missed appointment notice. From 2018, David says without looking up. We'll get there, the judge says, not unkindly. Mr. Ortiz. David stands with our stack arranged like a spine. Your Honor, we oppose. This is a bad faith publicity campaign wrapped in the word safety. We'll show capacity, systems, and a coordinated attempt to manufacture crisis. He nods to the clerk. Respondents A through J. We move fast because truth moves faster when it's ready. David calls Dana from the welfare visit. Dana's scarf is soft. Her voice is harder. Oriented to time, place, and person. Safe home, consistent responses, no observed cognitive impairment. Luis's clipboard becomes a clean sentence on the record. Laurel takes the stand next with cedar in her vowels. Attempted access addition declined. Extra verification enabled. Welfare call through an off-site line. And we obtained this. She nods to the bailiff who wheels in a small monitor like it's 2003. The lobby video plays. Marcus's careful lean, the coaching, the push toward a template, the sign that says no third-party access sitting in frame like a quiet witness. Ryan objects. Foundation. Certified chain of custody, Laurel says, holding up her affidavit. The judge scans, nods. Overruled. Marcus looks down. Rachel stares at the table as if the wood might explain itself. David slides the welfare letter to the clerk. Then the trust clause. 2 independent physicians required. No contest language humming like a thin blade. Then the restricted donation receipt. Pastor Williams's simple handwriting glows under the fluorescence. No sale, no loan. The judge's mouth does a small private thing at that one. Approval or memory. Now signatures, David says, and the room leans in because it senses theater. He places my cardstock under the document camera. Mrs. Hale, please sign your name as you always do. I write Ruth Hale. He flips the card. The grooves rise on the reverse like tiny hills. Observe the pressure valleys, he says. On the counterfeit, there are none. The forged authorization goes under the lens, flat as paint. He rakes the desk lamp across both. Light catches topography on the real, skates across the fake. The judge leans forward. He doesn't smile, but his eyes do. Also notice British date format and a bank logo retired last winter, David adds. Petitioner's Exhibit 2 isn't just unauthenticated, it's sloppy. Ryan objects to the adjective. The judge sustains the substance and calls it inaccurate. The gallery exhales something like a laugh and swallows it. Respondent, the judge says to me, tell me about the restaurant. I brought a check when my daughter said her work was her life, I say. A thing that waits for a decision. Then I saw her methods. Bank calls. Camera whispers. I tore up the check to make the decision clean. Ryan pounces. You admit volatility. I admit clarity, I say. Banks don't honor checks that never existed. David touches the last tab. Gee, the blog. And when their PR machine ran overnight, he says, we captured it. Note the past due notice featuring a font the utility retired in 2018. The judge glances at the year and lifts one eyebrow. Judicial for seriously. Ryan shifts tactics. Your Honor, even if you buy these theatrics, there's something the other side hasn't told you. Mrs. Hale has exhibited confusion about amounts. $50,000 versus $500,000. She asked her daughter to repeat numbers like a grade school teacher. That's not clarity. That's decline. David looks at me. I could let him swat it away. Instead, I stand. The hard thing is the true thing, and the room needs it. Your Honor, I say. I have a private medical condition. Not dementia, not cognitive. Hearing. I take a folded paper from the folder. Dr. Shaw's audiology report. Moderate high-frequency hearing loss in the right ear. Background noise, restaurants. Makes numbers smear. So I require important figures spoken slowly and twice. I meet the judge's eyes. That's why I said, say the number out loud. not confusion. System. David marks it as Exhibit K. This is the painful truth my client didn't want public, he says, softer. She prefers dignity to sympathy. But if petitioner insists on turning a reasonable accommodation into an accusation, we'll show the report. The judge reads the top line. The audiologist's notes about word recognition scores. The recommendation for directional microphones I haven't bought yet because pride is stupid. He nods once, like something in the room just seated properly. Ryan tries one more angle. She's lonely. She's grieving. She needs structure. I do, I say. I built it. Pill organizer, emergency contacts, bank verification, a church that holds my heirlooms instead of a pawn shop, a mediator who flipped when she saw the method. Elise rises from the back when David calls her. I was asked to mediate, she says. Mrs. Hale offered a safety-only inspection on her terms within 7 days. She declined a surprise appraisal on her porch. She executed a restricted donation in public. She was measured. Petitioner pushed for optics. Rachel can't hold it. She stands and blurts. She's manipulating you. She's good at looking steady. It's the quiet ones you have to watch. Sit down, Ms. Hale, the judge says, not looking at her. Rachel sits, red rising. David closes with no flourish. Your Honor, capacity is not perfection. It's systems under stress. Petitioner hasn't met the burden for an emergency order. What we do have are forged letters, coached bank attempts, and a PR drumbeat to soften the ground for a grab. If the court desires any oversight, set a status in 30 days and require both sides to keep cameras off the porch. Ryan gives a last speech about erring on the side of safety. The judge holds up a hand. Safety doesn't mean we hand the keys to the loudest person in the room. He looks at me. Mrs. Hale, 2 independent physicians. Do you have that lined up if ever needed? Yes, I say. One is my primary. I can identify a second if required. He breathes, looks down at the stack, touches the trust clause again like it has temperature. The room is so quiet I can hear the air vents. I'm taking this under submission, he says finally. Written order by tomorrow noon. In the meantime, no changes to accounts, no appraisals, no welfare checks unless initiated by Adult Protective Services, and no filming the respondent at her residence. His gaze slides to Ryan, then to Marcus. Direct. Clinical. Marcus looks at his lap. Rachel bites the inside of her cheek like it owes her money. Court is in recess, the judge says. We stand. The room exhales. A hum starts as people remember their phones. At the aisle, the restaurant manager, the brass lamp witness, waits with a folded piece of paper. Thought you might need me, he whispers. I saw the whole thing. His handwriting is careful. A declaration ready to notarize. I take it like a life preserver. In the hallway, reporters hover at the exit. Small town hungry. David raises the folder like a shield. No comment, he says, and we keep moving. Rachel's voice snakes from behind. You're not safe tonight, she says. Low. Seriously, if you won't let me fix this, the house will make you. I stop. David turns before I do, but I'm already turned. Say that again, I say calm. She smiles with only one corner of her mouth. Houses catch fire. Locks fail. Old women forget to check stoves. She shrugs. I worry. Be careful, Mrs. Hale. You're building Exhibit L, David says. She steps away, then back in, then away again, like she doesn't know which camera to play to. Marcus touches her arm. She shakes him off. We pass the metal detector. The day outside is thin and bright. Sharon texts. I'm on porch duty tonight. Pastor Williams. Lee says he can swing by. Laurel. Call if anything weird hits the account. We'll freeze. Elise. In the car. Board told to stand down. David buckles and finally lets out a long breath. She gave us the ending, he says. Not yet, I say. She'll try for the house before the order lands. Then we write our own last scene, he says. White heavy checkmark mokim sunisi tamamlandi. Sun son, ev savunmasi plus finale. Isen, divam, yazan. Divam. 27 OCA package BLM2 halves final sonala. At home, I check every window latch, not because I'm afraid, but because rituals are the bones of a house. I test the smart lock. I power the porch camera and the little one that watches the side gate. I put fresh batteries in the motion light. I set my phone on the hall table and speak my name into a new recording. Date, time, porch light on. The neighborhood settles. Dusk slides down the maple. The brass fixture on my porch draws its circle like a target and a promise. Somewhere down the block, a black SUV idles too long and then goes dark. On the edge of the light, a shape moves and stops. The smart lock logs a failed attempt, then another. The first failed attempt shows up on my phone like a polite cough. Front door. Incorrect code. Then another. Then the motion light wakes and throws a brighter circle across the porch rail. I stand in the hallway where the floorboards don't creak. The house holds its breath with me. A second ping. Side gate opened. A third. Back door handle jostled. The system timestamps every touch. Machines keep better diaries than people. I start a new recording and speak into it. Riverside. Date. Time. Front lamp on. Smart lock active. I set the phone on the table and call Sharon. On my way, she says. Front only. Don't open. The porch camera catches a shape moving wrong. Rachel, hood up, face turned away as if she can hide from a lens that has memorized her height since childhood. She reaches for the camera, thinks better, and slips to the side. Another shape hangs back by the curb. Marcus. No red dot this time. No live caption. Just a phone at chest height and the nervous energy of someone who hears a door closing on a story he thought he authored. I dial the non-emergency number. Possible attempted entry, I say. Front and back. I am safe inside. The dispatcher's voice is a calm metronome. Units on the way. Stay on the line. Do not open the door. A soft thud at the back window. The sash rattles and holds. Then footsteps crunch across the side yard to the porch again. Rachel tries the code pad with her birthday. Then mine. Then 0-0-0-0 like a gambler who believes in magic. The lock logs each failure like a little laugh. Mom, she says through the door, voice pitched for the microphone she can't see. It's me. I know, I say loud enough to carry. Leave my property. You're not safe, she says. Marcus saw smoke from the side vent. Let me check the stove. The stove is off, I say. Your concern is noted. Your presence is not. Marcus hovers at the edge of the light. Rachel, he whispers, too loud for the camera to miss. Don't touch the handle again. Seriously. She ignores him. She jostles the handle. The deadbolt holds like a promise you kept even when you didn't want to. Sharon's porch light flicks on down the block. Pastor Williams's sedan eases to the curb and parks in front of my maple with the patience of a pastor parking for a vigil. She steps onto the sidewalk with her hands visible and her voice gentle. Evening, Rachel, she says. Go home. Rachel flinches. She turns her back to the camera for the first time. This is between me and my mother, she says. It was, Pastor Williams says. Now it's between you and the law. The squad car slides in silent, then breathes once to let the block know it's real. Two officers step out. The young one's face is earnest. The older one's face is tired in a useful way. Their flashlights check corners. Their hands rest low and easy. Ma'am, the older one calls to me. You the homeowner? I am, I say through the door. Ruth Hale. I am safe. He nods at the door like it can nod back. He turns to Rachel. You know you can't be on this porch without permission, right? Rachel straightens. She aims for Ernest. It's a welfare check. She gets confused at night. She left something on. I'm her daughter. Adult Protective Services handles welfare checks, the officer says. Not daughters at midnight with their hoods up. Step off the porch. Rachel doesn't. A muscle jumps in her jaw. She needs me, she says. She loves me. She just can't show it right now. The flashlight sweeps low and finds a small pry tool near the mat. Something that looks like a screwdriver that didn't go to college. The older officer toes it back with his shoe. He looks at Marcus. You with her. He starts to perform a smile and gives up halfway. We're documenting, he says. The phrase too worn to do its job. Document from the sidewalk, the officer says. Ma'am, he calls to me again. You want to come out and make a statement? I open the door to the chain. The brass lamp throws its circle across my blouse. Clean tonight. No coffee. I hold the slim folder in my free hand. I want her off my property, I say. I want you to note the smart lock log and the failed codes. I want to press no charges tonight if she leaves now without argument. I look at Rachel because I am still her mother. But I will ask the court for a protective order in the morning if this continues. Rachel's eyes brighten. The girl who wanted the lake is there again. Bare feet and stubborn chin. Then she stomps it out. She steps down. 2 slow beats, the anger heavy on her shoulders like a wet coat. Ma'am, the younger officer says to me, voice careful. Would you like us to stand by while you reset the lock? It's already reset, I say. It keeps better records than we do. I nod toward Pastor Williams. I'll have a friend sit on the porch for a half hour. The officers take names, take photos, take the small pry tool into an evidence bag that looks too clean for such a cheap piece of metal. They ask if I want a report number. I do. They give me a card with block letters and a number that will become a line in a file that becomes a paragraph in a judge's head. Rachel backs toward the curb. She can't stop talking. This is on you, she says. If something happens to you, everyone will know I tried. Marcus points his camera at the ground like a penitent. Rachel, he says. Stop. She doesn't. You think the judge likes you because you brought a pastor and a pen, she says, loud now. You think your little church show means anything? It's pathetic. Rachel, Pastor Williams says, voice not gentle now. Leave. Rachel does the math and chooses the only number left. She gets in the SUV and slams the door too hard. The engine growls. The tail lights glow and go. The dark is quieter without her noise. Sharon takes the porch steps like a woman who's walked them in a dozen storms. She sits on the top one with her shoulders square to the street. Pastor Williams takes the bottom step like she's starting a vigil without the candles. Thank you, I say through the chain. You'll sleep, Sharon says. We'll stare at the dark. I'll stare at the lamp, Pastor Williams says. It's doing most of the work. The officers drive off. The porch light hums. Marcus lingers for one breath longer, then slips into the night without a caption. Inside, the house releases the breath it was holding. I lock the door and set the chain. I take the slim folder to the table and slide in the new card the officer gave me. I add 2 printed screenshots. Incorrect code. 2341. Side gate opened. 2342. The file grows heavier by the ounce. I sleep with my phone on the nightstand and my hearing aid case open like a small white oyster. When I wake, it is to a text from David. Order posted. Come read it in the light. His office is sun and wood again. The bowl of green apples hasn't moved. He has printed the judge's order on paper that feels like it believes in itself. We read it together. Petition denied. No conservatorship established. No appraisal or property inspection absent respondent's consent. No third-party account access or contact with Riverside Community Bank. Absent respondent present with ID. No filming of respondent at her residence by petitioner or agents. Protective order. Petitioner shall not come within 100 feet of respondent's home or person. Absent written invitation. Sanctions reserved. Briefing said in 14 days concerning petitioner's submission of unauthenticated materials and extrajudicial publicity. Status conference in 30 days for capacity check-in at respondent's option. At the bottom, in the judge's careful script, a line that isn't required, but is earned. Capacity is not a performance. It is a pattern. David leans back. He wrote you a sentence. He wrote me offense, I say. We file the police report number. We attach the night's screenshots. We send a copy to Laurel, who replies with 2 words that smell like cedar. Well done. Elise writes a short note to both sides. Pursuant to order, the HOA will not entertain property requests. Safety-only inspection remains open per respondent's offer after council review. Nora forwards a terse email from the board. No more porch business. Take disputes to council. At home, I sweep the porch because that is what we do after storms. The brass lamp is off in daylight. The circle is in my head now. Sharon stops by with coffee and a grin. Good move, she says. That brass thing is safer than any lock. It was always a compass, I say. Now it points for others too. Pastor Williams texts a photo. The sextant already labeled on a neat card in a quiet glass case. It was always a compass. Now it points for others too. Around noon, a knock. Not sharp, not sneaky. I check the camera anyway. The restaurant manager stands there with a folded paper and a look that says he hasn't done this before but intends to do it right. I open the door. I typed it, he says, handing me the page. What I saw. The coffee. The check. The way you spoke. My boss signed it too. We printed the shift log. The hosts will sign if you need. I read it on the porch because some papers deserve sunlight. His handwriting is careful. His sentences are short. His respect is a quiet drum. Thank you, I say. You turned a messy night into a straight line. He shrugs. You paid for your soup, he says. You looked more steady than most people who come through at dinner. When he leaves, the porch looks larger. I sit inside at the piano bench with the slim folder on my lap. The house hums like an instrument in tune. I take the fountain pen out of my jacket and sign my name on a blank card. Slow. I flip it and feel the grooves with my thumb. They rise under the skin. A private relief map you can read in the dark. I take one last sheet from the folder. A letter I wrote with David and didn't send. I love you. Your methods are violent. If you want to help me, do it in the open with counsel. I add a line. If you want to come back to my porch, ask. If you want a future with me in it, stop using the past as a weapon. I sign it, then slide it back into paper walls. Not mailed, not torn. A possibility folded like a spare map. Evening comes clear and gold. I turn on the brass lamp. The circle returns to the porch and holds. The maple shivers once and then rests. A boy on a scooter schemes past and looks up to see if I will wave. I do. He waves back, surprised. The phone vibrates. A new message from a number I know all the way to the bone. I got the order. I'm not allowed near the house. Fine. You win for now. A pause. Then another. I don't understand you. I stare at the text until the letters go soft. Then I type. I know. I hope you learn. I won't move the fence for your convenience. I will open the gate when you stop breaking hinges. I do not hit send. Not yet. Instead, I do what I've done since the first night I owned this threshold. I step to the doorway. I check the lock. I check the light. I stand in the clean circle and breathe. The blouse is clean. The voice is calm. The house is mine. And when the night gathers itself and lays down, it finds me where I said I would be, with the porch light steady, the door firm, and my name pressed into the page deep enough to read from the other side.